Well, tonight we're going to be talking about the Country Bears that closed last week, and they're going to be coming back in some form. We'll share our thoughts on that. Disneyland has a lot of opportunities in the future. All that tonight on ParksCenter. Welcome to ParksCenter for January 28, 2024. I'm your host, Rob Whiteside. Thank you guys so much, as always, for being with us. We appreciate you. If you have not already, please subscribe to WDWNT TV for more great content, and click that thumbs up as it helps people to find us. Tonight's panel is a panel of, well, we'll just call them experts, starting with Allison. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good evening, everyone. How are you, Rob?
I'm hanging in there. And Kamila?
Hi, everyone. Happy Sunday.
And, of course, Shannon.
Yes, I'd be remiss not to give everyone a big howdy, y'all.
Oh, that is so, wow, it touches my heart. You know what? It's so weird to think about this. The Country Bears going away. It was one of those things that was always a staple for us. It was Haunted Mansion, Country Bears, Pirates of the Caribbean. It's a small world. You didn't go on a Disney World trip without going to one of those. When I heard that the Country Bears were gone from Disneyland, I was like, how do you do that? How do you get rid of the Country Bears? It could never be done. And I think that what we've learned is that there's a lot of things that are not necessarily like, just untouchable. We learned that with the Great Movie Ride. We learned that with Pirates of the Caribbean and the things that they changed there. And so the Bears are staying, if you didn't know that already, but the Bears closed on Friday, the Country Bear Jamboree as we know it, and it will reopen at some point in 2024 as the Country Bear Musical Jamboree. Totally different. And you know what? I guess I want to talk to this panel a little bit and ask the question, and I'll start with Allison on this one, is do we put things like this on a pedestal unfairly, or is this one of those things that, like, times change, things change, and it's time for a change here? What do you think?
I think you listed like the ones that like can't, like, you don't want ever to leave, right? Pirates and Haunted Mansion, Country Bears, Tiki Room for me. Like, I was messed up for a little bit, and then I grew to love Tiki Room. But anyway, this is the kind of stuff that is like, these are IPs that were created specifically for the parks. A lot of them opening day attractions, and these are the things. Parks are absolutely not museums, but these are the things that are like, they should be preserved. Not everything needs to be, but this probably should. And I'm glad that they're doing it in some way. It's not totally going away in Disney World. So
Yeah.
we're still going to have some bears.
Well, as we're working through, I might as well do this. It's been a weird night for technical difficulties. So again, apologize to anybody out there who saw our previous false start. But let's see if this will work. We'll try this out. I honestly don't know the answer to this, because we are in such a bubble when it comes to Disney that we sort of all kind of feel like, we know what's precious and what's nostalgic and what needs to stay. But in talking to other people sometimes, I get the feeling that, like, things that are important to me at Disney aren't as important to other people at Disney. So when they had the rumor that this was going to be the Toy Story marionette show, and of course we at WDWNT went completely bonkers about something like that and said, no, not in my Disney World. I talked to people who are like, oh, that sounds like it would be fun. So I have a poll here, and if you guys are in chat and can try it out for us, and again, maybe it doesn't work, maybe it does, we'll see. The first one is love the original show, wanting something new, just glad that the Bears are staying, don't care at all, wish we had the Toy Story show, or something else. So again, go ahead and put pound one, pound all the way through pound 6 in there, and we'll come back to this in a bit and see if it's all working. But let me go now to Shannon on this. You were just at Disney World. Did you make it a point to stop and see the Bears one last time before they went away?
Of course, absolutely. I had to pay my respects. And Rob, I think here, I'd be remiss to say that this show has not received love from the general public, and I think that's a signal that it probably is a time for change. And it wasn't something that was a regular part of my trip or my day at Magic Kingdom for a long time. It really wasn't until I learned about the history that tied all the way back to Walt and tied back to Mark Davis, and when I really started to care for and love for the bears. So I am so glad to that they're staying in some capacity. I really hope that Disney and Imagineers still tie in some of that tongue-in-cheek adult humor that we all love about the bears. But you know, we'll see what happens.
You know, a lot of people were saying on Twitter, like, this is the thing that, you know, on a normal day, no one would go see the Country Bears. And yet here on the last day, people are waiting 2 hours to see this show. I think I've even said on the show before that my family and I went on one of the after hours events, and we were literally the only people in there. I've seen cast members in the past sort of beg people to tell people about the Country Bears and like, hey, make sure you come back at some point, and you know, and bring a friend. And so, you know, these kind of things happen. I get it, but you know, there are some things that I would like to think, oh, they will be there all the time, and then some things that people are like, you know, it needs to go. So. That actually happened at Disneyland. Disneyland used to have the Country Bears, and then they went, you know what? We need a Winnie the Pooh ride. Let's just get rid of this thing. Kamila, I know you're more West Coast. Did you ever go to the one in California when it was bears?
Not that I remember.
Okay.
And to be honest, I don't remember the last time I went to the one in Disney World either. And it's not that I didn't like it or did like it. I just never really prioritized it for a Magic Kingdom day or for a Disney World trip. I will say, you know, the thing that I feel like I'll look back fondly about this attraction is there's probably so many unsuspecting parents who thought that they were just like going to get a chance to sit down and rest, going to get a chance to get some AC. And they're like, what is this? Like, as they like look at their child trying to figure out if they understand what was just said. And so, you know, that, like, I feel like there's a lot of good memories, but I also feel like maybe we don't need to be sad when we don't know, you know, what they're going to do with it, how they're going to refresh it. We'll see. I mean, I know no one has any faith in Imagineers or Disney these days, but you never know. And so we'll find out.
I'm just going to say, Kamila, the barges, you and me, again, yeah, you and me, we're like, they're going to be fine. These fountains are going to be beautiful. And yeah, it's not going to be a thing. I do have a super chat, so Shannon, buckle up. There it is. Jungle Cruiser says, imagine having your Tomorrowland destroyed for over 30 years and no one at all at Disney seems to care. At least your stuff is getting replaced. So Jungle Cruiser, thank you so much for the super chat. We appreciate you. And yeah, that's true. I mean, you know, they still have the track sitting up from what used to be the People Mover as a reminder about, hey, this used to be a thing. You know, Rocket Rods, it didn't work, but we'll just keep the track up there. It's fine. I hope that Disneyland gets that refurb for Tomorrowland that they need so desperately. But again, that's a great point, though, is that it's not really going away. It's just changing, but it's changing seemingly drastically. And I know that Tom's talked about this before, is it's not going away. That, you know, at least we still have the Bears, and it's not the first time it's changed. They had the, you know, the vacation version and the holiday version and all these other versions of it. But it just seems like one of those things that just never gets quite a fair shake to me. And honestly, one of the things I think that where it starts as a problem is that the outside of it looks very like you're not sure what you're looking at there. So that looks completely crazy. Yeah. But the outside of it is just nondescript, right? It's one of those things where you're like, I don't really know what we're looking at here. And so
it looks like a small gift shop. It doesn't look like there's like a large theater inside.
Exactly the point. Anyway, so when you go into it and you know what you're going into, you're like, oh, you're going to love this. And you bring your friends in there, and sometimes they love it and sometimes they don't. And I think I mentioned on last week's show that people are like, what?
Has anyone brought in people who like didn't know Disney into the Country Bears, and then they came out and they loved it? Because I have not had that experience. I have only been able to go in there with people who are already Disney fans, because my husband is like, every time we go in there, he's like, man, this place really is changing, and like, why are we here? And like, I just can't bring them. And same thing with my friends, and I talk it up and I try to like get them excited about it. I have not had the experience where someone like gets in there, no matter how I lay the groundwork, and they walk out and they're like, oh yeah, no, I understand this attraction and I understand your love of Disney even deeper now.
You know what? My son just took a bunch of his friends to Disney, and I think he prepared them for that. That this is what we're going to see, and you need to be ready. But I think they loved it. But when you're in there and you hear the laughter the first time that Big Al, like the lights on him, and it opens up and he's singing "Blood on the Saddle," you can hear the people who have not been there before. I think like the little kids, and I think that they get excited about that. But you're right. Like it's one of these things. It's like, what am I going to see? So and looks again very nondescript from the outside. So I'm hoping that they do something more grand on the outside. So I know I get the theming, but like how many times have you been, and maybe nobody on this panel has been to Universal, but you've been to Universal and people go like walk right by Gringotts because they don't even know like the attraction is back there, and it's great theming. It's amazing. It looks like London outside, but if you have to ask, like I don't know, I part of me says that's a really cool thing, and the other part of me says you need to make this accessible for everybody. So hopefully when they redo this, there'll be something that really draws your attention to it, even though we're trying to keep it themed to Frontierland, something that really draws your attention to it. But I remember going as a kid with my dad and loving it, and he was a big country music fan, and it was really great to see. And then taking my kids, and it becomes a sort of thing that maybe they didn't love it in the middle, like they loved it as little kids, and maybe as teens they didn't, but now that they go back and they're like, yeah, this is cool. And so I hope that the next thing is good. It should be. I mean, we know that songs like the Bare Necessities are coming, but like Shannon, other than that, like, is there a song in the Disney catalog that you're like, I really hope that this is one of the ones they bring into the table, like honestly, other than the Bare Necessities?
No, no, not at all. I think it needs to be original music the way it has been. I think that's its charm, right? Like you don't want to go in there to hear any other Disney song. You hear it in Happily Ever After. You hear it now in Luminous. Like I want less in the catalog and more originality.
Okay. Well, I mean, I hate to burst your bubble. A lot of those were original country songs that they were doing. You just didn't know them. So, I mean,
oh man,
just throwing
you
that
learn
out.
something new every day.
You do, don't you? Let's talk about the Lunar New Year. Speaking of things that you learn new things every day. We talked about this on a couple episodes, but the Lunar New Year stuff is out there now. It's a big thing at Disneyland. But one of the things we talked about last week was we were kind of questioning this meet and greet that they've got out there. I don't know if you guys looked at the meet and greet or not, but it seems weird that we've got like Malin and her mom as the meet and greet instead of the panda. So again, I'm going to pick on you on this one, Allison, because I'm like, you've got a daughter. Would she be super excited to see like Malin's mom?
She has asked to see the panda specifically, and I've been like, I don't know. I'll say she always has like the strangest characters that she really really wants to meet in person. But I don't think she'd be really excited to see Malin's mom. But I think it's a really interesting choice that they have Malin like in the midst of the transition, so she's got the tail and the ears, I feel like the only reason they did that was like so people recognize who she actually is, rather than just like going. They should have just gone with the panda. It's so much simpler, but I guess because the panda's so huge, it's like hard to do.
I feel like they've done it before, but this looks like cosplay to me more than it looks like a meet and greet.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
I mean, no, right? I mean, again, I don't know. And it's not the year of the panda. It's it's the year of the dragon. But again, it's interesting. I don't know. I don't know that people would be excited about this, and yet the lines were insane for people to go and get this meet and greet. But was it all the like, the Instagram influencers who had to get out there to do it, or was it like real fans that were out there trying to get it done? I don't know.
That's so the Disneyland though. Like if there's like a new and novel meet and greet, like people are in line. Like that's what all their after hours events are just like people in line for rare characters, and like it's not just Instagram influencers. It's just like that's their annual pass crowd in California.
Well, I mean, I will say they take some risks when it comes to things like Oogie Boogie, where you get to meet Sid or you get to meet, somebody that you normally wouldn't. But Kamila, what do you think about this meet and greet? And have you been to Lunar New Year too?
I have not been to Lunar New Year. I think the meet and greet is fun. I feel like the thing about Turning Red when it came out, people were still not really going to theaters. It didn't get a theatrical release, but there were a lot of people who were really excited about it. And so I think the way that Disney and Pixar have been able to kind of extend the runway of this particular IP, this particular movie has been really nice to see, because I think there were a lot of people who were really excited, and they weren't necessarily able to see it on the big screen initially, but then the characters started to kind of show up in merchandise in the parks, and now fast forward to where we are with these characters being a big part of the Lunar New Year celebration. I think it's been really neat to see how much Disney has continued to expand their Lunar New Year offerings. I'll be completely honest. I don't know. I mean, I know it's like a holiday. I think they're celebrating the New Year, but I don't know a ton about it personally. But obviously, especially in Disneyland, they have a lot of people who are excited about it. And I would imagine that's why they've continued to grow it. Now you're seeing some of the property and IP being shown off in like hotels, the Disneyland Hotel. So, it's been really interesting and neat to see how much they've expanded this out there. And I mean, they have a lot. They've got the food festival, they've got the parades, they've got the character meet and greets. So, I could imagine, like, especially if it is something that you celebrate, it's a really unique and exciting offering.
Yeah. Honestly, I do love the concept of this, and here are some of the things. So we've got all these articles on the website wdwnt.com, but you can see like there's a couple of different things that they've got merchandise wise, and then you've got the food that they have there, and the little processional that they do. And then here's like the tasting passport, and then they've got this introduction to World of Color 1 with Mulan and Mushu. So yeah, I agree. I mean, I think a lot of this stuff is very cool, and obviously one of our bigger stories this week was that they added to the Disneyland, Disney California, the Grand Californian, this huge dragon kite, which is an amazing thing to look at, along with some other things in there. They're selling treats. They've got some displays. It's a Small World dolls. It looks like they've really kind of each year going a little bit more all out for this. So definitely looks exciting. I think I caught the tail end of the one last year because it was Oswald, and I was very excited to see Oswald in his red outfit, and I don't know. It was pretty cool. Let's move on. Speaking of Disneyland, talk about Disneyland Forward. We've talked about Disneyland Forward a little bit in the past. So for those of you who are not familiar, Disneyland is very small, and they are always sort of having these arguments, conversations, we'll call them, with the city of Anaheim, who's like, yeah, you guys are the whole reason that all these businesses exist, but we're still going to tell you what you can and can't do. And so they have this project and this plan. It's almost like a community-facing plan called Disneyland Forward, where they're trying to get everybody excited about the possibilities that they could do if they could get some money, and if they could get some, not money, but if they could get some approvals from the city of Anaheim to do things like extend the parks. There's been some talk about them making a third park. There's been some talk of them extending the two existing parks over the roads there. And so now they've talked about a $2.5 billion investment, but it still feels like, reading this article, that they are really kissing up to Anaheim super hard still. They're like, we're going to give you all this money. There was a provision for $8 million for parks, and I thought to myself, wait a minute, Disney makes the parks. Why is Anaheim making the parks? And then I realized parks can be other than theme parks. Like, there can be an actual park with a bench and flowers. It took me a while to figure that out, but that's a thing. And so they're talking about money earmarked for that, money earmarked for roads. And then Disney's offering to buy roads from them in this thing. So, I mean, let me talk to you, Kamila, because again, you go out west a lot more than the rest of us. So, I would love to see this kind of expansion for Disneyland, but it feels like Anaheim is like making it difficult every step of the way. But all this looks like it's nothing but good news for Anaheim.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a very delicate relationship. Disneyland and the Anaheim, City of Anaheim, the Anaheim City Council, it has not always been a good relationship. And the Anaheim City Council, the locals have actively, in some cases, voted in members of the City Council that were not going to be so favorable to Disneyland, that we're going to kind of look out for the people that actually live in Anaheim as well. And the people of Anaheim weren't always convinced that they were getting, a fair deal from Disneyland. There were a lot of disputes over parking and infrastructure in particular, who pays for it and who benefits from any profits that are generated. So it's a very fine line. And I feel like the relationship has come a long way. And I think, frankly, COVID helped a little bit, because both Disneyland and the City of Anaheim realized how much they did need each other. But that doesn't mean things can't sour down the line. I think one of the things you notice about how they drew up, some of these proposals and potential contracts is there's provisions in there that say, if Disneyland does not spend this money on X, Y, and Z, then they have to instead, spend money here or pay back the city in certain ways. So, I think this time the contracts are not so lopsided or one-sided. But I will say, very exciting, the potential for Disneyland expansion. One of the biggest reasons, I just will say, is I think weather. The weather in Southern California is so much better than it is in Florida 9-10 months out of the year. And so if we can get more things in Disneyland, let's say like an Epcot, listen, I think there are plenty of people who'll be like, you can keep Florida. I don't have a reason to go.
Yeah.
But I think it's exciting.
I think there's a lot of cool stuff they've done over the years, because this was just one theme park. And I've said this on the show before. I think that my brother went before I did, and he said it was like driving up to a regional park, like a King's Dominion or something like that. It was like, he was like, how do you just drive up into the parking lot and walk up to the gate? Like, that's weird. Then they made Disney California Adventure and the Esplanade in between, and the parking structures with the very like strategic pathways that the trams take, so that you feel like you're still in there. Like if you stand at the top of a parking deck and you see how it's cut out, and the trams and how they're going through other businesses and things like that, it's very interesting that they've been able to carve out what they have over the years. And the Disney lover in me just says, hey, why don't all these businesses just give all their stuff to Disney? Wouldn't that be nice? Just give all your property to Disney so they can build something out there. So
just give Disney your house.
Just do it. Like, what's the problem? It's Disney. Like, make
need
it
that
better
school.
for all of us. Don't be selfish. Exactly. Some of the plans, though, that they're talking about doing before we move on here are all things that already exist, right? The Hong Kong Frozen Land, Tangled, which I believe is part of the Fantasy Springs. Same thing with an extended Peter Pan, Zootopia, Toy Story Land, which already exists, Tron, which already exists, and there's still talk of even doing something along the lines of Wakanda, which would use the e-ticket attraction originally planned for Avenger Campus and move it into something that was like a Wakanda land, which would be awesome to do, but it still wouldn't seemingly make sense unless they could put it right next to Avengers Campus. I don't know, but all of these things look great. I just feel like I'm not sure it's going to happen in my lifetime. All of these contracts end in like 2064 or some mess like that, and I'm like, nah, I don't think I'm going to be hitting whatever the Wakanda e-ticket is in 2064. Maybe.
Do your stretches.
Better living through science, exactly. So anyway, let's move on to talk a little bit about Downtown Disney, which I find it so funny that it took me forever to break calling Disney Springs and not Downtown Disney. But if we're out in California, we still have to call it Downtown Disney, or as Allison refers to it, Downton Disney. I don't know what I'm talking about. There's a new expansion building called the Parkside Market, which looks fantastic. They're redoing Downtown Disney District. They're putting in this building, which will include a Soul Sister fast casual Korean eatery, Sip and Sunder, Gigi's Chicken Shop, and a second-story bar offering views over the top of the district. They've done a lot of things recently to try to redo downtown Disney, because it's been one of those things where they demolished so many things, the AMC movie theater, and they closed the Rainforest Cafe, and they got rid of the ESPN Club because they were going to build a big hotel right there. And then Anaheim said, "Nah, you're not." So then they'd already closed all this stuff down. So now it seems like it's just been walls. And I'll go back to you first on this one, Kamila, since you've been there before. But like, I'm excited about Porthos. I'm excited about, like, you know, them still having Earl of Sandwich out there, and some other things that are coming. But it feels like it's been under construction since the dawn of time.
That is my thought exactly. I am exhausted by downtown Disney because for as long as I have been going to Disneyland, which is since I was a little kid, they have been doing construction, making changes, refurbishing something in downtown Disney. And every time I'll like a restaurant and find like a go-to place, which for me was Catal, they'll be like, "Oh, just kidding. Now it's going to become this." And it's like, I'm sick of them doing this. That being said, I do think these changes look and sound amazing. They're finally, I think, getting to some places that are already popular in Southern California. And so this will just be another location in some cases, and that will be a big draw. And I do understand Disney putting so much effort into getting this right, because the way people pour in on a Friday night, a Saturday night, even a Sunday, who are locals, just, you know, they're not even trying to go to the parks. They're just trying to like go to dinner, go to World of Disney, have a place to hang out. There's so much potential, and frankly, you know, want and need from the local community that it makes sense that they would kind of keep playing around. But I really hope that kind of the indoor market works for them. They have quite a few nearby. Like there's one in Long Beach that's a similar concept, and I don't love it. I think Disney will do a much better job with theirs than what Long Beach has. But I just hope this time it works, because it feels like downtown Disney is always under construction. They're always making changes. You'll like a place and then it'll be gone a year later.
Yeah. Allison, you've probably been a few times to downtown Disney. Do you like that structure that's there? And are you looking forward to any of the things that you've seen coming?
Yeah, it's been sort of a while, but what I think the one thing that everyone's gonna make fun of me, the one thing that like is missing, like I usually will go to eat at Napa Rose or like in the park. I like a nicer sit down, and I'm excited for like the Carlos Gaitan restaurant. He's like a Chicago Mexican chef who's like amazing, and he has a Michelin star here, and like they're gonna have something out there. So I'm excited for that, but I think like the need really is more of like the fast casual stuff to put that in there, and sounds like they're gonna increase that kind of capacity and also give me something that where I actually might want to sit down and have dinner. So yeah, if it comes to fruition and things don't get canceled and we're not under construction for like 10 years, this is gonna be great.
Yeah. Before we move on, Shannon, I know it's been not long since you've been there too. I love Tortilla Joe's. I'm probably on the minority on that, but it's going away. So I come on like kind of the same page as you are. It's like, hey, I found a place I like. Oh, you're closing it? Perfect. But Shannon, any thoughts before we move on?
No, I love the retro vintage design of that building. I think it really plays to the charm of Disneyland and Disneyland the heyday. And I just want to throw this out there in case anyone ever wants to do it. But if they're ever going to refurbish, do like an overhaul of the Disneyland Hotel, make it this vibe. That's all.
Okay. So basically like a Splitsville, Cabana Bay, that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Cabana Bay.
Honestly,
just like Cabana Bay, yeah.
Right. I was gonna say, honestly, when I looked at this, I was like, that looks like Splitsville. Like, honestly, that sort of looked, and there already is a Splitsville there. But I remember telling my daughter when she was younger about like Cabana Bay, and she's like, "Well, what's the theme?" And I said, "It's like 50s," and she goes, what does that mean? Like, I don't know what that means. Like, if you're like, the theme is movies, the theme is
diners and shakes.
Yeah, that's exactly probably what I said was diners. It's like, remember Primetime 50s Cafe? It's kind of like that, only like a whole hotel, and they have Prel. I don't know. Let's move on to the next topic, which is Avatar. It's so funny to me about Avatar because I feel like a lot of people are like, I hate the movie, but I love Pandora. or like everybody's nodding their head here. It's like, who watched that movie that got it so much money? Because most of the people I meet are like, nah, except for Ben, who used to be on who used to run ParksCenter. Ben was a huge like speaking Navi like kind of guy, but I most people I've met, I'm just like, hey, do you want to pop on Way of Water? They're like, I've got to be somewhere, sorry. And yet Pandora, the world of Avatar, is beautiful, and I would love to see them do more things come in there. So John Landau, who is the producer, who apparently has gone on some kind of Ozempic diet type of a thing, because he looks way thin all of a sudden. He went to Disney Imagineering, and they were going to be talking about the future of Avatar. And so one of the possibilities is maybe updating some of like Flight of Passage. It feels like it's a screen-based attraction. You should be able to update that with stuff from Way of Water or the next movie, since there's supposed to be several sequels on the rise. But it also feels like you could expand there. And then we've heard some expansion opportunity for Disneyland, because they're going to do some kind of Avatar experience, and we still don't know what. Maybe that'll be part of that $2.5 billion. But let me go to Shannon first on this one. Are you a fan of the land? Are you a fan of the movies? Or are you like, let's do something else with that money?
Yeah, no, let's do something else. I am not a fan of the movies at all. I do enjoy the land, but I don't like it. I mean, it's great that we have it in Animal Kingdom, and we should keep it like that.
Okay, if you had to choose Camp Mini Mickey or Pandora, the World of Avatar.
Oh, Pandora.
Okay, good. Just making sure. I mean, I think that they parted out everything from Camp Mini Mickey. You still have the Festival of the Lion King. You still have some meet and greets. We just lost Pocahontas, and you know what? Maybe she'll come back somewhere. Allison, do you have any love for this franchise at all, parks or movies?
I mean, no, I have no interest in the movies at all. I watched the original one on a Netflix DVD back when we got the Netflix DVDs. So I was like, oh, that made a lot of money. I should watch it. I've not seen Way of Water. In fact, every time you say Way of Water today, Rob, I keep thinking it's Journey of Water. Oh, no, we're not talking about that. It's just like, it means nothing to me. But I think like the land is like a really great example of what amazing Imagineering can do, because I connect with it. Like the only counter service I like really love in Disney is Satuli. But the thing that disappoints me about this, like I would be fine if they added things to it, because typically lands grow over time. There's only 2 attractions in there now, but it's like, oh, we're gonna have some alternate experiences and the one attraction, like build something else. Like that's just not that exciting to me to make it like Star Tours. Sorry.
Wow. It's honestly, when was the last time anybody waited 3 hours for a Flight of Passage? Okay.
Opening year.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I appreciate that attraction for what it is, but it's not like I have to do it every time. But there are people who love it and want to do it and have to do it every time. And I would love to see what else they can do with that technology. So, yeah, I agree. I don't know. I love the land. I think it's very cool that it looks different at night and during the day, and the attractions are cool, but they're stacked on top of each other to save space for something. So, maybe they will do something else in the future, but I don't know. Anyway, let's go to It Came from the Parks, which is one of my favorite segments. We talked about some stuff last week. It is so nice of Disney and its guests to continually give us these kind of stories so that we can talk about what craziness happens in the park. So again, this is where we go to the website, wdwnt.com, and we find some of the most outrageous stories from the past week of things usually that that guests have done in the parks. And then I'm going to mention all 3 of the stories we have for the week, and we'll let each of you pick one. You can pick the same one, or you can each pick a different one. But our nominees for the week and I saw this one coming out of the gate, and I was like, yes, please, let's talk about this. A woman wades in It's a Small World water, pulls 4 children out of boat at Disneyland Paris during unexpected downtime, which again, I feel like the longer the titles, the more drama there is involved. Drunk man in swim shorts slaps teenage Disney cast member 3 times at Citrico's over dress code. And I love the fact that we put 3 times in the headline because twice wouldn't get your attention. And then man sneaks into Magic Kingdom without ticket. All he got for Christmas was escorted to the ground. The funny part about this one is that I misread this title like 8 times before I finally figured out what it was, because I thought he got a ticket for Christmas and then they wouldn't let him in and they threw him on the ground, but that's not what happened, and it's clearly not what happened. But my mind wanted that to be what happened. So we'll go clockwise on this one. Allison, we'll go to you first. Which one do you want to dive into?
Oh, let's talk about Small World. So I really enjoyed that video, mostly because I was just so surprised at how many children were coming out of the boat. But before I get into that, we should talk first about safety. This mother's got her like ankle in the water, and I think I was watching it going like, oh my gosh, she's gonna lose a foot. Like, don't do this. This is incredibly dangerous. There's all sorts of machinery and mechanics there, and there she is with no boots or any protection at all on her feet and pulling out these numerous children. But I think right before I saw this video, I had seen a video of firefighters saving a bunch of ducklings who had fallen through a grate, like a storm drain. They were saving them out, and there was a mother who was like counting them, and they were taking like one after another, and some of them had like gotten up into like the pipes, and they had to pull them out to make sure they got all the ducks out. And then like, I don't know, an hour later, I saw this video, and it reminded me so much of it, because I was like, oh, how many more children are,
gosh,
there's 4 of them. That 4 is an awful lot of children, and I feel like this woman, this was an insane thing to do. I'm sure she is trespassed. Don't do this, but I also like know what it is to have just one child who's driving me crazy. Like, and you might do something insane to get them. I don't know where they thought they were going. I don't know.
They walked off into the Small World sunset.
Like,
they were wandering around, like you see them kind of like turning around and like, where do we go from here? Like, there was no plan. So obviously this woman was pushed to the brink by one or more of these children.
There was no plan.
To a point where she's like, having no plan is better than being in here in this boat with the 4 of you right now. So we're just getting out. Again, don't do this. No matter what your children do, don't do this.
Shannon, before we move on to yours, we do have another super chat, so buckle up, get ready, here it comes. Boom. That's what, okay. So Jungle Cruiser is back again with another super chat. Thank you, Jungle Cruiser. Can we get the other Avatar, The Last Airbender? That would be an amazing addition. I agree. Call Nickelodeon. I mean, nobody's using that property right now, right? Let's get them over here and get that one, because as if it wasn't confusing enough, right? That both of these properties are called Avatar. Let's have them in the same parks. Let's get it done. But I mean, I'm here for it. Swap them out as long as we can have that kind of a vibe. It'd be pretty cool. All right, so thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it. Shannon, you can go for the same one, or you can pick one of the others. What you got?
You know, those Christmas party tickets are getting really expensive, and I feel like it was just playing Disney at their own game. You know, like my husband even said when we were there last week, he was like, do the cast members even pay attention with the people walking into the park? Because it is so easy. This man just sauntered in. And what I loved about the story, I mean, this is terrible, but like his arrogance of just being there and not wanting to leave. But I'd imagine that this has to happen pretty often, right? Like, especially with those tap styles. The cast members, they're standing there with their arm up because no one knows how to use their reservations and whatever. So how often are people just walking in without tickets? Probably more than we think.
Well, you know what, though? I think it seems pretty easy to get in without a ticket if you're just getting into the park for the day, especially when there's a line of people in front of you that has no idea what they're doing, and one cast member helping them and stuck in the iPad trying to figure out how to override whatever's happening or figure it out. And so and people moving through on each side, I could totally see somebody sliding in for that. But for the Christmas party, though, you got to have that band, and so you got to talk to the person with the outfit on to put the band on. I went in during a Christmas party with a friend of mine, went in the wrong gate because I was like, that one's so crowded. Let's not do that one because that gate,
I know
like,
what you're talking about. Yep.
right. And so we went
You
in
tried it.
the
You
day.
tried it.
We went in the day
The
gate, and
daytime
then I walk
guest.
in and
Yep.
look and go, oh, we should have been over there. So we went to like all the way to Tortuga Tavern and got it, and didn't have to wait in line at all, and it was fine. But they're really militant about not letting you on attractions. I found out because I was there during a Halloween party, and at 5:50 they were like, "We won't let you on Pirates of the Caribbean because at 6 o'clock the park closes and the wait is 20 minutes, so we're not going to let you on." Which I don't think they're supposed to do, but they were pretty adamant that I wasn't going to ride Pirates that night. So I do think he was going to have a little bit of a difficulty eventually on this anyway. You got to admire his moxie. And yes, they do charge a lot of money, but, all they got for Christmas was thrown to the ground. So there you go. Kamila, any of these two, or do you want to go for the Citrico's slapdown?
Let's go for the Citricos because I actually have two problems with what happened here. So let's start with the obvious of this is a man who works in hospitality, right? So he knows how awful some people can be when they don't get their way or the things that people might try to get their way. But, his family booking Citricos should also know there's a dress code, right? There's a process to be able to get in. He was told that from the beginning, and he seemed to say, that's fine. I'm just going to wait with them, and then I'll leave. Now, of course, he's also intoxicated during all of this as well. But he clearly seems to understand that he's not dressed appropriately to dine there. So then his family, the table is ready, his family is starting to be taken away, and now all of a sudden he wants to complain that he's not allowed to sit with them or dine with them. And it sounds like this is when he decides he's going to slap a poor cast member, which can never happen. My understanding is cast members get hit, slapped, spit on quite often, which is atrocious behavior. That is never acceptable, regardless of what's going on, and certainly not in this case where you're clearly in the wrong. So it's infuriating that this is happening, and he's someone who, it sounds like, works in hospitality, manages people in hospitality. But this is my other issue with this, because another part of the story was the family basically saying, don't let him sit with us, et cetera, et cetera. Listen, he's your family member. You need to deal with him. Stop letting other people deal with him. And the reason I say that is I see this so often in the parks and other places where someone in your group, someone in your family is behaving badly and you expect someone else to deal with them. Like, that's your job. Okay, you as a family members need to be, and because it sounds like the family was like, don't let him sit with us. Like, you tell him that, you send him away. Like, what is happening where you can't even do that and it's your own family member? So I just, terrible on him, bad on the family. You all can go away from Disney. Okay.
I was literally, if you hadn't said that part, I was going to say that part too. That's the part that drives me crazy. Please don't allow him to sit with us. He's really drunk, underdressed. It's my birthday and I'm embarrassed. You're right. Like, I don't know. Take care of your own. Like, it just,
why is it someone else's job?
Right, exactly. So I agree with you 100% on that one, and it's ridiculous. And I hadn't even taken the angle of he was in the service industry. He should know better that how people should be treated and treat people like you want to be treated. And apparently, maybe he's got maybe he comes from like a White Lotus kind of a situation where he kind of no. Okay.
But to slap someone, like, that's so crazy. That's so crazy.
And it was saying that the cast member cried because of the incident, not because of like being injured. And I'm like, yeah, I would too. Like a guy like smacks you in the head a bunch of times just because and he's drunk, I'd be afraid, So yeah, that's and yeah, it's not good at all. So please be kind to everyone, but please be kind to the cast members as well.
And just one more thing on that. How did the family allow him to not be dressed if they knew they had this reservation for Citricos? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just a breakdown there, and it's a mess.
Well, I mean, just, that's why you go to Disney, is so they'll take care of the crazy people in your family.
We'll babysit the adults.
Yes, exactly. Let's talk about pass holder perks. There were a couple things that came up, and I like kind of lumped them all together. But last week we were talking about there was a teaser for the new Moana magnet that was coming out, and we kind of talked about, well, what could it be? I mean, it's not going to be Moana drawn, in this style of, kind of like the new Mickey Mouse-ish style. It's not going to be it's not going to be Maui. Could it be Pua? Could it be Hey Hey? And I think Patrick called out Hey Hey, and boom, there it is. It's the Hey Hey magnet drawn in the style of the new Mickey Mouse as your pass holder magnet. It's available starting tomorrow all the way through the end of the festival. So to me, that says, hey, we meant to have this when the festival started, but they weren't ready yet. But don't worry, they've also got a new Hey Hey Liege waffle as a thing for annual pass holders, but it's not free. You just you have to pay for it, but it's for annual pass holders. And then over with the Magic Key situation in California, where you can't actually buy a Magic Key, but they're going to show off how many cool things they have. These patches,
I'm so upset.
Here's what gets me about this, though, Kamila, and you can talk about this if you want to, is that this is a Magic Key patch if you go to the Sweethearts Night. So you have to be an annual pass holder there and then pay to go to a hard ticketed event to get your free. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, are you going to do this? Are you excited?
No, I'm not excited. I don't have a Magic Key, Rob. And if some of you remember, I was not able to get a Magic Key. I tried and was denied. So thanks for bringing up that wound. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. I mean, I fought tooth and nail to get that. So, I mean, I'm just to the winner. So here's also another thing you can do is there's a Magic Key photo op, which, apparently they might as well just call that area underneath the Silly Symphony Swings like
Seriously.
Magic Key Alley, because that's where they do everything.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, that's the Magic Key place is right back there. They can just shut down that whole area and just have
block
it be
it
one
off.
long queue. Yeah, to get whatever you want to get. But I feel like
stick
the
them
stuff
all in there and keep them there.
Yeah. Wow, there's so much bitterness going on. Allison, you're an annual pass holder. On a scale from 1 to 10, how excited are you about this Hey Hey magnet?
0. That's a little harsh. Maybe 1. My daughter kind of likes Hey Hey. She really likes Moana, so I could get that. But no, I'm not going to go out of my way to get this. The Figment one was very cute. I still gave it away.
Yeah, and then Shannon, did you you were just down there? Are you an annual pass holder?
Yeah, I am,
Oh,
and that's
no.
what disappoints me. I feel like they should have these available all year round. Have them prepared, swap them out to different characters. That's really cute. It's disappointing, especially for me who does. I understand that pass holders are typically people who are locals. I'm not. So I understand I don't have the luxury of going whenever they come out, but then have them more readily available. That's all.
Yeah. No, I agree. And
or mail them to us. Figure out how to mail stuff to us. They did it with the wrapping paper. It's not that hard.
Well, and Jarrett in chat was just saying, I have 3 annual passes in my house, but you only send me 2 magnets when you mail them. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. And I mean, they're how much really is this? And it means it I don't know, membership has its privileges, I guess. I don't know. I feel like you can swing for the postage on that, but I could be wrong. Let's move on to we talked last week during last week's ParksCenter. If you haven't watched it, go back and watch it. We talked about all the festivals. We were talking about Lunar New Year and what was coming out, and we talked about the Flower and Garden Festival that's upcoming, and kind of like the Mardi Gras Festival at Universal and Festival of the Arts. But we also talked about Valentine's Day offerings. They have stuff coming out for Valentine's Day, but now Disney has announced the stuff that they have coming for the Celebrate Soulfully for Black History Month. All of these things they have, and it almost looks like most of the stuff that they have is all sort of looks like New Orleans based kind of stuff, like beignets and things like that. So
which is not actually soul food. It's a different Creole cuisine, New Orleans cuisine is different from soul food.
But I mean, am
not
I wrong?
Disney getting this wrong.
but am I wrong? I'm looking down through it, and that's all I really see is stuff that looks very New Orleans.
It's boring.
Yeah,
it's boring. It's uninspired. They didn't try. So those of you who think Disney is so pro, they're not. Okay, they're not. Let's acknowledge that they're not. This is sad. It's uninspired. And they have some things that they could do, right? Lean into Black Panther. I mean, you could do things, but you're not trying because you don't care. And that's okay. That's okay. But, maybe just skip this altogether then. Why do this
Yeah.
much?
Well, when I saw this, I was like, "Wait, what are we doing? Like, what is this?
They
how
don't
is
even
that?"
know, Rob.
I was like, "How is this soulful?" I'm like, "Okay, the Southern
It's
citrus
not.
twist." I mean, yeah. Again, a lot of it looks
I
very
have one thing I
Southern. I
can
mean, like,
recommend.
go ahead,
Yeah.
shoot.
Tiffin's makes outstanding shrimp and grits, and it's on the list. It's not always on the menu. They have it like periodically and seasonally. That restaurant knows how to do it well, and if I were to have it like in my favorite restaurant in New Orleans, I would be like, yeah, this is up to par for like New Orleans style shrimp and grits. But I guess that's also can be so. But I mean, it's good. So if you're there and you get one thing, go to Tiffin's and get the shrimp and grits because it's not always on the menu, and they do a really good job with it.
But it's a huge list of offerings, and it doesn't seem
It's
like
huge.
there's a lot of variety in them. And it seems like, again, that the common thread is that it's all feels like it's sort of New Orleans-based seafood or gumbo or beignets or,
But
throw
I feel like
Tiana
that's
on
the
top.
problem is that and I feel like they do this with every kind of holiday or thing going on in a specific month. They feel like they need to cover this huge wide swath of food and locations. I'm like, do one smaller thing and do it really well. It's almost like that liege waffle, like that. Hey, does anyone care? Is any AP holder going to buy that? You know what I mean? Like, why are we offering 50 things that are half, not to use bad words here, but like Kamala said, uninspired. So
Yeah, no. Again, I'm looking at it and I'm just like, I'm confused more than anything. Honestly, and the other side of that is I like that they do offerings, but it just doesn't seem like it seems a little misplaced. That's all I was going for there. So,
They could get a jazz band out there, a blues band out there. They could get, I've seen at Disneyland where they'll throw a little gospel band in the back. I mean, I've seen them do that in the past, but
yeah.
it's uninspired. And to be honest, if you're not if you're not going to do it seriously, I feel like why bother? No, this is not moving anyone. Give it up.
Gotcha. So kudos all around. Moving back to, let's talk about haunted stuff. So the Haunted Mansion in California is down for a while. It was open as the Haunted Mansion holiday through the holiday, and now it's going to be down as they are expanding the queue, setting up a gift shop, doing a lot of other things. I kind of dig what they've done here with the walls and doing these paintings from the people in their corruptible mortal states. You can see that they've got the two sides of the flash paintings that you'll see inside, so that you can get a look at what the actual painting looks like, and then what it looks like when the lightning hits. That's kind of cool. I like that they've done this with the frames. It looks very much in line with the Haunted Mansion. They've got the quotes from it here. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of it being closed, but I do think that it's neat that they have somebody like. Do you think? I'm gonna go ahead and say this to Shannon. Do you think that it's like there's a whole department called like construction wall theming? Because it sort of feels
if
like
there
that, doesn't it?
if there is, are they looking for new hires? Because I would be doing that. No, it seems so fun, and you get tired of the generic, Walt Disney quotes that you see everywhere, and like, pardon our pixie dust.
The one that used to get me all the time was this area being refurbished for your future enjoyment, and I would always think about that one family who it's the only time they're ever going to be at Disney World, and this is really being refurbished for someone else's future enjoyment, not theirs. So, not everybody goes as much as we do. The other thing, rolling all this Haunted Mansion stuff together, is that the floating candelabra has been removed from the Haunted Mansion at Magic Kingdom, and again, not sensationalist journalism, but there's a rumor that it could be coming back. But I think this is one of the things, and Kamila, I'll shoot this to you because I know you love Haunted Mansion, is that this is the one in Florida that I think there was a lot of rumor at the time that they put the Hatbox Ghost at the Endless Hallway. People were like, do we need that and the floating candelabra? So, I mean, do we think that they've just taken it out to polish the thing up, or do we think that maybe they're just trying it to see what it would be like without it?
You know, I'm going to go with the polishing it up theory because it needs to go back immediately. I haven't been out to see the Hatbox Ghost, but I've heard people, like, since it's been put there, but I've heard people say it's kind of an awkward placing. But yeah, I would say put that back. And the other thing that I will say, yeah, like to me, like my eye goes to the floating candelabra much more than the Hatbox Ghost, even though the Hatbox Ghost is such a like big object there and colorful. But the other thing I will say is for Disneyland's Haunted Mansion, if that ride isn't perfect and if what they have put in isn't the most incredible thing I have ever seen, I swear to God, Disney, I'm not kidding. You will hear from me, guest services, because this is ridiculous. Like, I still cannot believe they are closing this ride for the little gift shop that nobody asked for. Like, put that on Shop Disney and call it a day. Stop doing this to us. So if what they did isn't amazing, we riot.
Okay.
I'm so serious.
Sounds good to me.
And
let's move on.
that ride better not go down.
Ever again.
That's all I had to say. Ever. Like, it better not go down, ever.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, you know, you wouldn't get to hear the safety announcements, and, you know, isn't that part of the fun? Let's talk about this one final thing, and, you know, I feel like we could possibly talk about it next week and then maybe never again. But Paradise Pier Hotel, starting this coming week on January 30th, is going to officially be finally the Pixar Place Hotel. They've already got signage up. They did new entrances. They've got what looks like a temporary sign pop riveted to the side of the building. So you know it's real. This one actually looks pretty cool. I like the way that one looks on the parking structure. That one looks nice. That one makes it look like they've definitely done an upgrade here. But the entryways are being updated here. And on the other side of things, there is also the soundtrack is now available for streaming on music streaming services. If you want the soundtrack to the Disney third best Disney hotel at Disneyland, it's available for you on streaming services. So, yeah. Let me go to Allison again. On a scale from 1 to 10, how excited are you about the Pixar Place Hotel?
You these 1 to 10s. I don't get out there that often, and when I am out there, I'm not usually staying on property, so not very. And I also like it's funny. You said like, oh, like this looks really cute on the parking structure, and that's what I said at first too. And then 2 seconds later, I was like, but that's kind of cheating to make it look like a sketch pad. Like it's a really easy way to like throw up some theming, but like it doesn't take a lot of effort. And don't make fun of people who listen to these soundtracks for hotels. I often at work, when I have to do deep think work, I put on like the YouTube loop that's like 9 hours long of like Fort Wilderness or like some random hotel. So of course I listened to this. I saw the playlist and I figured it was going to be maybe instrumental versions or something, but something recognizable. And I started playing it and it's like, oh no, this is like underwater elevator music versions of these songs. It's a choice, and they're almost unrecognizable. Even when I'm like, oh, this is You Got a Friend of Me. I'm looking at it, I'm playing the melody, and I can barely pick it out because they've distorted it so much with this weird underwater sound.
Wait a minute, did you just tell me? Did you just tell me don't make fun of people who listen to this and then say it's trash garbage? Did you just like? I'm just asking.
Kinds of playlists,
that's this one.
But this particular one is like what like they're normally curated, and I feel like I'm in the park. So if I'm like thinking for a couple of hours and I need to really focus, putting on some music that reminds me of the Polynesian or reminds me of Wilderness Lodge or like really anywhere because they're really careful about their music typically. So I
Yeah.
thought this would like scratch that itch and put it on. I was like, oh, this is not normal. This is like almost like a a runway fashion show like techno versions, but sounds like it's underwater. Everyone should listen because it's wild.
Okay, there you go. And Kamila, any thoughts before we
You
end this
know,
one on that hotel?
here's my thought on this, and because I'm in a bad mood between the pass holder perks and the soulful, I'm just
And the
gonna
Haunted
say
Mansion.
this. Just
And the Haunted Mansion.
listen, and oh god, the Haunted Mansion. Just tear it down, knock it down, start over. It's terrible.
Yep.
You're not going to fix that hotel. Just like Shannon said last time I was on the show with her. They put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. Tear it down. Knock
Yep.
it. Take some of that $1 billion. Knock it down. Try again.
I gotta tell you though, from someone who's stayed there multiple times, the way that last time I stayed there, it wasn't finished. It was last year, but it was remarkably better than it was before. But it's still, I agree with you. It's not of the Disney caliber.
Is it
and
worth the
it
$300
would've-
to $400 a night? Minus the location.
Three to $400.
Not
I
even.
feel like it's 400 and up. And yeah, you're right. And
I
it's
mean,
not
I'm
even
sure now.
It's not
The
even the best
Westin-
location.
The Westin that is 2 steps away, that you can see that
Agree.
hotel, like far superior and less expensive. Wait, before we finish, Rob, can you pull up that last picture you had that showed the mosaic, those mosaic chandelier with the
The mosaic
characters?
Oh.
He was just in that last.
Oh,
picture
you're
just
talking
because I really think they did Buzz dirty. Didn't Buzz have like some body image issues, and then they made him this little round, this round thing with sticks for arms and legs, and I felt terrible.
I know what you're talking about because we talked about it. I think the last time that we were on here, we talked about that mobile in the lobby. But no, I don't. I think the one I was showing before was the soundtrack. So,
Oh, it was on
Yeah.
there, but that's okay. Everyone will know what I'm talking about.
yeah, no, I mean, and again, I think it might have been last week where we talked about the this is the soundtrack part. So you're talking about this little teeny tiny
Yeah,
Buzz
see
with the little
Buzz?
legs. Yeah.
Like, why did they do him dirty like that?
I
He looks like
again,
an
I don't
egg.
know. Yeah, he does. It doesn't look great.
It's horrible.
I mean, the
He's
funny
bigger
part
than a
is that
hippo.
the ones from Seoul are the closest to looking actually like they are from Seoul.
Yes.
So isn't that interesting?
True.
But all right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out with us on ParksCenter. We appreciate you. A couple things, a couple notes. One is thank you to our WIGS members. We love our WIGS, the WDWNT Interglobe Society. Thank you guys for being members of our little family. If you want more information, you can go to patreon.com/WDWNT. People who are in our WIGS team will have a post show after this, and so please join, and we'd love to have you on board. Another thing is a programming note is that we have Deep in the Plus coming this Wednesday night. We're going to be talking about Echo, the latest in the Marvel series. It's only 5 episodes, so if you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it already. But also, if you go back to some past episodes, Allison and I talked about Mrs. Doubtfire. Last week, my friend Maleko and I talked about Dumbo. And then on February 7th, we're going to be talking about Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo with Patrick Hackett, who is very excited tonight, I'm sure, because I believe that the San Francisco 49ers did make it into the Super Bowl.
You know what, Rob? That's also got me in a bad mood. Please, please.
I can't do right by you
This is a
tonight,
horrible
Kamila. I'm so
night.
sorry.
Horrible.
I'm so sorry.
Screw
But,
the
I mean-
49ers.
But the Chiefs won, so we get to see more Taylor.
You know what?
So,
We're done. We're done. End the show. End the show.
But we will be
Please?
back next week for ParksCenter at 9 p.m. On February 4th, and then the week after that for a Super Bowl, we're going to be taking off because Kamila needs to have her moment.
You know what? No, let's have the show. Nobody's watching that Super Bowl. I'm boycotting. I'm
Perfect.
boycotting.
Awesome.
Let's talk about Disney instead.
Let's always talk about Disney. Yeah. Thanks again for everyone for watching. We appreciate you. Thank you, everybody on the panel. Thank you. I appreciate you so much. And we will see you in the post show. We'll see you next time. Have a great week, everybody.
I just can't do it.
Wow.
This has been a terrible day.
Uh,
This is my worst
wow.
case scenario.
Kamila.
Detroit was up literally like by 14 points. How did they